What is up? What is up, people? This is Abraham Walker with Ask A Walker, your Northern Virginia real estate agent, and we're back at you with another live stream. Today we have a great show for you. We're continuing our series on the 100 questions every first-time home buyer should ask. Today's question is question number 12. What is a seller's broker / listing agent? We're going to get into definitions a little bit, kind of prepare you for the individuals you're going to be encountering when you're going through your real estate transaction. The way this is going to work, I'm going to prepare some talking points. I already have some. I'm going to give you those, go through this section of the book, and try to give my perspective of a Northern Virginia real estate agent, right? So it's important for you to have a local spin on this content. I've been in business for 14 years, and I like to make sure that my clients are educated. After that, we're going to answer questions, any questions that you may have about the local real estate market, about your own individual move, whatever it is, we will take care of those questions at the end. So let's jump into it. What is a seller's broker or listing agent? First off, you need to consider that a broker, there's two types of brokers you're going to encounter. There's the buyer's broker, which based on the name, it means that that's the person who represents the buyer, right? So we also call that person a buyer's agent. Then there's the seller's broker. The seller's broker is the seller's agent. The way commission works, the selling agent, right? The seller's agent, listing agent, negotiates the commission with the seller and then shares a portion of that commission with the buyer's agent. You may be wondering if the buyer, from my perspective, right? So if you're a buyer, if the buyer is hiring a real estate agent but not paying the agent, then why am I involved in this process? That's a great question. Right now, that's the current structure. There is some debate around this topic right now. Department of Justice is involved with it as well, because there is this philosophy or idea that the person who is hiring the agent should pay for that particular agent. So in the future, we may see an environment where a buyer pays for the buyer's agent and then the seller pays for the seller's agent. Right now, that is not the case. One of the reasons why, if we speculate, right, this is just speculation. One of the reasons why I believe that we do not have buyers paying for agents at this time is because a lot of the buying process is kind of mystified. And also there's like an illusion of what's going on. And I think the industry as a whole benefits from buyers not being knowledgeable or educated about the cost that it takes to purchase a property. And I mean, it goes from the lending costs, title fees, home inspection fees, how much it costs to repair anything. A lot of buyers have no idea, for the most part, what they're getting themselves into. And so I think the industry as a whole takes advantage of that lack of knowledge by moving as many fees away from the buyer as possible. So then they only look at the prize or the end goal, which is to purchase a property, right? Sign your name on a document and then get on about the business. There have been countless times that I have been at a closing table with a buyer client who has no idea how much stuff the whole process cost. They were instructed by their lender to have X number of dollars at the closing table. They have this much money, but then when you go through the closing, you get this HUD settlement statement or a settlement statement, and it shows all of the fees. And the number of times the client is just like, you could just tell that they are not present to what is happening. They still sign the documents and they just keep it moving. So I think that that's why commission is still on the seller side of the transaction, because again, the buyer has more details, more steps to their part of the process than the seller. That's what I think. That's my speculation at this time. But why are we having this conversation, right? So this is more or less like a buyer series for first-time home buyers or just buyers in general. And why am I telling you about the seller's agent, listing agent, seller broker? Well, you're going to encounter this person in a number of ways. First of all, every listing that you see has been input into the MLS through a seller's agent or a listing agent. Every open house that you visit is marketed by a listing agent or a seller's agent. Now, the seller's agent may not be at the property, but that is their quote unquote listing. So you already have a relationship with this person without knowing it. So what I want to make sure you do, at least I'm hoping this segment does for you, is educate you about why you want to be cautious or at least aware of who this individual is, what their duties are to you as a buyer. And then I think you'll have a much better real estate experience. Lastly, I want you to know that hiring your buyer's agent is your responsibility. You can't let these agents take advantage of your ignorance, right? You can't let them take advantage of your gullibility, right? Because buying a property is a much more emotional transaction on your side of the table, whereas selling the property is going to be a lot more numbers, a lot more strategy, a lot more logistics. So it's a logical or rational decision. Whereas buying a property, think about it. They stage properties. Why do they stage properties? They're trying to manipulate your emotions. Why do they have those wide angle lenses that take those photos of those small rooms? They're manipulating your emotions. Think about the marketing pieces that are catered towards buyers. They have nice music in the background. They sometimes have these models in the videos. Why are they doing this? They are manipulating your emotions. They know this. And this is spearheaded by the seller's agent / listing agent. So take hiring your agent very serious, because you want that person to guard you from these manipulation tactics. Now, the seller's agent has a duty. That duty is called a fiduciary duty. So I want to just read to you what fiduciary means, because this may be a new concept to you. This duty obligates a real estate broker to act at all times solely in the best interest of his principal, to the exclusion of all other interests, including the broker's own self-interest. Let me read that one more time for you. This duty obligates a real estate broker to act at all times solely in the best interest of his principal, to the exclusion of all other interests, including the broker's own self-interest. So this is why it's important for you to understand that when you encounter a listing agent or a seller's agent, maybe at an open house, this person already represents someone, and they have to put that person's interest ahead of your interest and their own interests, right? This is important to keep in mind, because a lot of people, at least I've seen this on the internet, where people will try to go directly to the listing agent or directly to the seller's agent and think they're going to get a deal. Well, who did the listing agent start their relationship with? Who do they owe their allegiance to? It is the seller. It is the seller. If you get involved in that relationship, then that relationship will be called a dual agency relationship. And that's another topic for another day. We will cover that 2 days from now, but that's another topic we'll dive into. So fiduciary duty, you want to get somebody on your team. You want to get somebody who represents your interests. You want to get somebody who you can rely on. That's not the seller's agent. If you don't sign a buyer's brokerage agreement, you have no representation. Now, some of my colleagues may look at this and say, well, Abraham, when I send over the contract to my client, they will sign the buyer's brokerage agreement. That's true. So that means that up until that point, right? So you see how agents will, they don't mean harm. They don't mean harm. I don't want to paint agents in a negative light. This is a sales business, right? We don't make any money until we sell something. So they kind of need you to go along through the process without being knowledgeable about what's going on, because you kind of get worked up, right? And you see a couple properties. This person that's showing you these houses has never signed anything, right? But they're building up this relationship with you where you have this illusion of a responsibility to this individual. Agents know this. This is why you have some of these online agents who run ads and also who are affiliated with some of the online portals like Zillow, Realtor.com, and they'll just pop up at a listing, show it to you. They won't disclose who they represent. They won't have any type of legitimate paperwork with them. They're just trying to start the relationship by showing you a property and trying to get you invested into that individual without an interview. You must interview these individuals. You must demand that they tell you how are they going to provide you with service. This can't be just about you getting into properties, because that is not where this whole process ends. You have to secure the property. So if you do not sign a buyer brokerage agreement, you have no representation. Yes, this person's showing you properties. Yes, they provide you with MLS access, but do they represent you? That is what you want to know. Agency disclosure should happen as soon as you have a substantive conversation with this individual about real estate. I know that this is not happening on a regular basis because for the most part, agents are relationship oriented, not contract oriented. So I know a lot of you who go to open houses have deep conversations with these open house agents because you're in the midst of interviewing them or picking their brain. They never say, hey, look, I don't represent you, right? I represent the seller, or at this time, I would like to represent you, or at least I want to make my intentions known that I'm going to be representing you. This doesn't happen, but you should want it to happen so you can know, is this person giving you advice so that you can potentially buy the house that you're in? Or is this person giving you advice so that you can use their services? What is this person's intention? You want to know that. Most agents include their agency disclosures in their consultation or in their buyer's agency agreement paperwork, right? Agents should do a consultation with you, which is a formal sit down where they ask you a series of questions about your process. Like, what do you want? What is your timeline? What areas you think are interesting to you? Who's going to be moving into the property with you? Are you pre-approved or not? What type of property are you looking for? Have you been here before? These type of questions should be asked at the beginning of the process. And a lot of agents will disclose their agency relationship at that time, or they will provide you with a buyer consultation agreement or a buyer's agency agreement in an attempt to secure you as their client and then include the paperwork then. Other agents will just show you houses until you become emotionally invested, and then they will just slide that paperwork in when you're making an offer. I don't advise that. I just don't advise that. All right, let's talk about 3 things a seller's agent, listing agent cannot do, right? This is what they cannot do. 1, they can't tell you to make an offer. If you want to make an offer on a property that they represent, you have to decide that because they are not your agent. And you'll notice this when we talk about the dual agency section in 2 days from now, that in a dual agency relationship, the listing agent acts as a mediator almost, right? Just a person in the middle who is transferring communication from side to side. this is not the best experience. A lot of people leave frustrated if there's any conflict or any challenges that occur in these types of transactions. The second thing a seller's agent cannot do is they cannot tell you about the defects in the property. When we're taking listings, when I'm acting as a listing agent for my client, there are oftentimes my client discloses to me what is wrong with the property or what are some of the challenges. Now, in Virginia, those items don't have to be disclosed, but you may be thinking to yourself, if I go directly to the listing agent, then that person will obviously give me this shadow information that they know about the property. That is not true. That is not true. They are not obligated to give you that information because that is their client's information who they had a fiduciary duty to before you got involved. The last thing a seller's agent cannot do is they cannot give you advice after they deliver comparables to you. In most scenarios, even in a dual agency relationship, the seller's agent or the listing agent will provide you with comparable properties, right? Or comparable, not necessarily analysis, but just give you what properties have sold in the area. They can't advise you after they've given you those documents or that material content, what to do with it. What does it mean? What should I do with this information? That is a conversation you would have had with your buyer's agent. Now, what are comparables? Comparables are just a printout usually, or you could send it via email where you show what other properties that are similar to the subject property and say what they sold for maybe in the past 90 days, 120 days. If it's a very quick market, the last 30 days. These are compared to the subject property. The subject property is the property you're interested in or that you're making an offer on. This analysis should be done before you make an offer on every property. Every property, repeat after me, every property I'm interested in that I'm going to make an offer on, I'm going to review the comparables. Now you may be thinking to yourself, Abraham, I saw one of your videos recently. You said that this coming spring market is going to be tough. You're probably going to be paying over the asking price for a lot of these properties. Why would I look at the comparables in that scenario? Great question. You still want to find out what other people are paying for these similar properties because you operate in a market. The buyer sets the market. So whoever is going to purchase the property is going to set the price at that time. You want to know what are people paying, even in a market that's a really hot market. How much are people paying over the asking price, right? How much should I pay to be competitive? That is what this analysis is going to provide you. And this is an analysis you should demand from your buyer's agent, and the good buyer's agents provide this on every property you're interested in making an offer on. You want this information. This information is going to make you feel comfortable about moving forward with the process. This information is going to make you feel secure in your offer on a property that you may have only been in for 15, 20, 30 minutes. So let's talk about the 5 things every agent wants. So you meet this listing agent, you have a buyer's agent, you have all these agents in the mix. What do these people want? First of all, they want you to have a good experience. A lot of agents run their businesses through referrals where they are getting business from other individuals in their network. And so they need you to have a good experience for you to even want to refer them. Secondly, they want the transaction to be easy. Believe it or not, agents are like everyone else. They would like to have easy money come to them too, right? Like if you go to work, you would like to have a light day at work too. Agents want that as well. So they're not making things overly complicated. Most agents, they're just going through the motion and helping facilitate the transaction. Third thing is they want you to like them. They would love for you to have positive feelings towards them. They would love to have this illusion of friendship amongst you and them. So just keep that in mind if you notice that the agent is getting a little chummy with you. Fourth, we already kind of talked about this, but they want you to have a positive experience. So you talk to other people about it, right? They want you to have the type of experience that makes you say to somebody else, if they're looking for a real estate agent, hey, I know somebody, you have to talk to him. I know this guy. I know I had a transaction with Abraham a few months ago, last year, 5 years ago, and my goodness, you will be impressed. You have to use that person. That's sort of like if you look on our YouTube channel, you'll notice that we have client referrals that we've recorded to give you an idea of how people feel about our services, right? This is a form of marketing through someone else. And this is why the agents, every agent that you deal with, they want you to have a good experience. They don't want you to spread negative information about them. Lastly, the agent wants to make a commission, right? So sometimes you get into these transactions and they become contentious. They're full of conflict, and it sounds like the agents are going back and forth. It sounds like the seller and the buyer are just having a lot of disputes, but agents don't make money unless we close on properties. We have to get you to the finish line. So that agent, they want to make money. They are as invested into getting to the end of this transaction as everyone else. So last up on this conversation about seller's agent is you're going to hear people use this term called full service firm, right? A full service real estate agent. I'm full service. I provide the complete package. What does that mean? Not much, to be honest with you. All they're saying is that they know some vendors, they have them on the list, and they're going to give you that list when you decide that you're going to work with them. Are these individuals reputable? Possibly. Are these people knowledgeable? Maybe. Are these people paying this person to provide you with this list? Possible, right? It's possible. But what vendors are on this list that this agent is going to provide to you, right? This full service real estate agent. Well, one, they're going to be giving you, because you're a buyer, right? This is a buyer conversation. They're going to be providing you with loan officer recommendations first to make sure your financing is in order. Then they're going to provide you with a home inspector. Not a home inspector. The home inspector doesn't come next. The title company, because once you go into contract, your contract then goes to the title company. They're going to give you a title company recommendation. Then they'll give you a home inspector. And believe it or not, in Northern Virginia, a lot of agents don't recommend insurance agents. This was a big thing for us in New Orleans, having influence over the entire transaction. So we were connected more heavily towards our insurance agents, but I guess insurance agents don't really make enough money off of those transactions, so they don't follow up with this. Anyway, they can also recommend you to a property insurance agent, right? So those are the 4 vendors that most agents are going to recommend to you. This book says that you should interview 3 vendors in those realms, right? I'm going to say I disagree with that. And I know that this is going to be like a unpopular opinion, but if your real estate agent is the professional you chose, you're really buying a package team, right? And what I mean by that is you could use another home inspector. You could use another title company. You could use another insurance agent, right? Another loan officer. But that agent gave you the list of vendors that they would like you to use because they have an existing or a pre-existing relationship, right? They have an ongoing relationship with this person, these vendors. That means that they have more influence with those vendors. So if you have a problem with your title company, if you have a problem with your home insurance, your home inspector or your loan officer, who will they respond to? Right? Sometimes I have clients who will be getting the same deal from like a company like Rocket Mortgage as a local vendor, but then they'll decide to use like a Rocket Mortgage. That's fine. But just know, I don't know anybody at Rocket Mortgage. And also Rocket Mortgage is such a large enterprise that I can't possibly have any influence in that company. So you want to make sure that you're putting together this team to execute this goal, which the goal is only occurs if you sign the paperwork. It's not if you save money. So sometimes people will say, I want to use this home inspection company because I'll save up $100 while they're buying a $500,000 property. Please make it make sense to me. Please make it make sense. We had a client one time who used a more affordable home inspector who I'd never heard. Now, I did hear some negative things about this person, but I'm not going to shed judgment or negative stories about somebody. But I can see why people dislike this particular home inspector. His report was like 4 pages. It was almost useless when we were going into the negotiation process. And it's hard to communicate this to someone who is trying to save $1. Hey, if you're buying one of the most expensive products that you will ever buy, it makes sense for you to invest in the team. Hopefully, the team is going to take care of you. I know you're putting a lot of trust and faith in these real estate agents that you may have casually met at an open house or just by clicking a button on Zillow. I know that. But there are about 5 million transactions that happen in America. I think your transaction is going to be okay, right? I think your transaction is going to be okay. So that's it. That is it. That's question number 12. What is a listing agent? And we are going through 100 questions every first-time home buyer should ask. That was number 12. I got to say, I like these series. I like this conversation. So next up, we're going to be answering questions. Right now, go to the chat. Let me know where you're watching from. Where are you located? Where are you located? Also, if you have any positive vibes from me, if you like this series, let me know. Also, we're live every day at 8 p.m. So if you have a question, buyer related, seller related, investor related, whatever it is, I have 14 years of experience. I've been in Northern Virginia for 10 years, almost 10 years. It'll be 10 years in August. And I would love to share some information with you, right? And if I don't know the answer, I'm the type of guy, I'll find it for you. Also, sometimes my wife listens to these sessions, and so she's probably researching it while you're asking the question, and she'll chime in. So we're a husband and wife team. My name is Abraham Walker. My wife's name is Crystal Walker, and we make up the Ask A Walker team. And you're probably watching this on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, even Twitter. We send this to Twitter too. But add your questions right now. We'll stay on as long as the questions are flowing. I have my water here. Let me take a sip. We have some good music in the background. We're vibing, as the young people say. So let's get to the questions. Let's see. We got a couple questions. All right. Kevin says, you are 100% on your last comment. Dropping dimes. Thank you, Kevin. Kevin has a great email that he sends out on a weekly basis. We've been reading Kevin's emails for a while. I've never really met Kevin. So I know of him through his content, and he does a great job with his content. Thank you, Kevin. He's a lender in the Northern Virginia area. All right, ABC says, I see that new homes don't have high ceilings anymore, which is why I'm looking primarily at homes that are built 20 years ago. That's understandable. Yeah, they are trying to fit more stories in these properties. Also, new construction in Northern Virginia is in such demand. They don't have to do as much for them these days. Is the housing market slowing down in Nova, also in line with the trends across the country? So this is a great question by ABC, who's going to be moving here from, I believe, the Bay Area. He's thinking about Ashburn. He was on last night with us. So Northern Virginia's housing market is not slowing down to the degree that prices are dropping, right? So sometimes people associate a slowdown in the market to a decrease in prices. Yes, prices have come down, but now they're starting to pick back up. So we had a lull in our market from about August, September timeframe all the way into December. And really in the last 2 weeks, the market has picked up precipitously. So we're getting ready for the spring market. I've already done a couple of videos about that. And I think, this is what I think. I think we're going to start to see, we're not going to have prices exceed last year's prices, but I believe that prices will get back up to last year's highs. All right, ABC says, with all the recent tech layoffs, Amazon, Microsoft, Meta, Google, I believe there should be some effect on housing that surrounds Reston area. What's your opinion? Great question. When you're thinking about a tech company, it's better for you not to look at them as a monolith, right? So tech companies, they get to be these behemoths of a company or an industry because they have different sectors focus on different areas of different accounts, right? So a lot of the tech companies that are located in Northern Virginia or the DC metro area, they service the federal government. The federal government prints money, so it doesn't have a need to slow down its efforts to continue its, infinite year mission to sustain America in all of its goodness, right? So I don't think that you'll see layoffs in the Northern Virginia market just because the client is the federal government. And because of that, where's the federal government going? Nowhere. All right, ABC says, who are the popular builders in the Nova area? I see the Toll Brothers has existence, but not a lot of construction. I'm looking for both townhouses as well as single family homes around Reston tech offices. First off, Reston is already developed, so you're not going to find much new construction in those regions. So all of the land that could have been developed has been developed. They're really just doing infills, which is where maybe there's a property that's set on an acre or two, and then they're putting in some properties or developments that way. And Northern Virginia's land prices are very expensive, so that's why you just don't see that much new construction. And you're just not going to see that in Reston, because Reston, again, it was a planned community from, I believe, the 80s, right? And so they've executed on that plan, and it worked well. So you're not going to see that much there. So you're going to have to go west to Loudoun. And you're right, Toll Brothers does have a presence, and that's because Toll Brothers likes to build on land where no one else is building, right? They don't want a partner. They don't want someone else building a different type of property, which you kind of see in Heartland. And that's why you don't see Toll Brothers in Heartland. You see them in Lena Mills across the street. So Toll Brothers, I would say, is one of the popular local builders. I think that their product is really nice. I would say you're going to see Pulte Homes is also going to be another popular builder in this area that has some selection for you. Drees Homes has some homes, but you're looking for townhouses. I believe Drees Homes has some townhouses in Leesburg. I don't think they have some condos that they're building up in Ashburn. But outside of that, there are also townhomes that are being built by, who is that? It's not Ryan Homes, but there's Van Meter. Van Meter has some townhouses in the Ashburn area as well. But my favorite builder is going to be Toll Brothers as far as a national builder. And then my favorite local builder is Miller and Smith. I just feel like their product is really nice. But DRB Homes, they're kind of local, kind of not local. But they also have more developments going right now. So that's another shop you can look into. And they also have like a mix up of floor plans, right? All right, ABC Cancun says, you are providing great information. Thank you. My pleasure. My pleasure. I like coming on here, presenting, and then just answering questions. Plus, to be honest with you, when we do our prepared content, so we're still doing more edited videos that will be dropping like once or twice a week. With those, you all provide us with comments in the comment section, but then the discussion gets lost in translation, right? So I like the live stream setup to answer in real time. All right, ABC says, are there places where we could lease for 3 to 6 months after relocation around Reston Town Center to learn more about neighborhoods, communities before making a buy decision? Unfortunately, Northern Virginia is horrible about short-term rentals. So you'll most likely have to move into one of those extended stay, sort of like a hotel venue. Other than that, we don't really have much corporate rental in this area. So what you're referring to is in other markets is seen as like a corporate rental. We don't really have much of that. What you could do, there are corporate rentals around the Arlington area just because that caters to more business clientele coming into the city for a few weeks and not wanting to stay at a hotel. But you will be paying a nice little penny because I believe your family is a family of 4. So you could do an Airbnb. I think the Airbnb will probably be the next best option for you. So do an Airbnb for an extended period of time. And then while you're doing your research, while you're understanding the different neighborhoods and communities, making your decision. So I think that's a great strategy. But otherwise, we don't really have too many short-term rentals. And about 50% of our rental inventory is not managed by a real estate agent. It's a consumer or a one-off landlord, and that person is marketing their own property. So even what's available to us as far as accessing on a professional front is limited in the rental space. All right, N_A says, have you heard of any city planning efforts to spruce up Richmond Highway? Outside of they're trying to bring, at first they were talking about doing yes, I have heard of some things. A lot of the plans just haven't materialized because there is a lot of land that they have to secure for this project, and it takes a while. I mean, years, decades for them to just accumulate the rights to the land that they need for any material projects. And, you know, the way the market goes, right? There's extreme interest, and then there's a lull. So that's how the Richmond corridor has been going. So Richmond Highway, they are trying to bring in at least a bus line, one of those fast track bus lines that you see by Potomac Yard, into the Richmond Highway area. Outside of that, not much. You are starting to see developers already making investments into Richmond Highway, and that's because they're trying to. The county has already said that they're going to make efforts to develop Richmond Highway further. And so you already have a couple apartment complexes. You have a new construction development called North Hill in Richmond Highway. It's still, there's a couple car dealerships that don't want to give up their land rights, right? They don't want to sell to the county. So I think Richmond Highway is still probably going to be a 10, 20 year project that, I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. I would say this though, if Amazon, let's say that Amazon HQ2, which is going to be in Crystal City, if Amazon said, you know what, they would have gone to the Potomac Yard area, I think that would have been enough of a push to get the county to make the investment and to bring Richmond Highway into the present, right, with development. The only thing I feel bad about with Richmond Highway development is there's going to be a massive amount of gentrification, a massive amount. I mean, there's still $500,000 townhouses over there. There's still $400,000 to $600,000 single family homes over there. All of those properties, all of those homeowners, all of those individuals that probably have, moderate income for this particular level, they're just not going to be able to stay in this area. They're going to get bought out. So that's going to be sad. But, you know, that's how these cities operate. That's how these areas operate. The county doesn't really have enough money to develop the area on its own. So it will need some type of influx of capital from corporations, and corporations want to see a return. corporations want to see a return. And also, once homeowners realized that they could make, an extra $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, I mean, they're going to start selling those properties, and then that's just going to change those neighborhoods in a couple of decades. So that's just the nature of the beast. In_A says, that's good to hear. We purchased in the Mount Vernon area last summer, and the highway can be a bit of an eyesore. Yeah, it is an eyesore. Keep in mind, though, the Route 1, Richmond Highway, was the only method of traveling before the interstates were there. So it was meant to be, it was meant to look like it looks, just as a spot for vendors, a spot for hotels, motels, stores, and stuff like that. So I think the area, again, 20 years from now, it's going to be, it takes a while, unless like a big player moves into the space and just drastically change the appearance, like we're seeing with Amazon. Amazon has only been in the area, technically 3 or 4 years. And look at Crystal City. Crystal City almost looked like a new place. It's only been 3 or 4 years. It takes them a while to build those buildings too, and it almost looks like a new place. So yeah, so something big or major would have to happen. I don't see that coming, just because Amazon itself is already going to put a lot of pressure on the employment inventory, right? If you think about who's located in the Northern Virginia area, and our unemployment rate is already lower than the national rate. So another big player really can't afford to come into this space without figuring out housing, without figuring out where people are going to live. So that's just something to consider. Oshan says, thanks for coming back, Oshan. What other resources, websites, podcasts, etc. do you suggest for relocating to Northern Virginia, for researching the area, or getting to know the area better? There are a couple other YouTubers that provide YouTube content about the region. But the content is all going to be pretty similar. Relocation, to be honest with you, relocation is not it's a newer concept for a lot of us. So you're seeing a lot of the channels, they're still 2-3 years old. There's only 2 YouTube channels that have been around longer than 3 years. And that's because this is still a relatively new space. So I think that there's a YouTuber who focuses more primarily on the northern part of the Northern Virginia area. So like the Loudoun County and up along the Reston area. And then there's a guy who does more of the Prince William County, but more to the western part of Prince William County, like the Gainesville area. There's a person who, they don't post frequently, but there is somebody in the Stafford area as well. But that's what I would say. It's still, the information is still not basic, but there's only so much information available, right? There's like how much houses cost, like what's in this community, how have housing trends gone. There's really not much more we could discuss other than new content, which is going to be what's happening this past month in real estate. All right, Kevin says, I'm on Route 1 and it is improving slowly. I love being on Route 1. It is only improving. When they expand the highway, I feel Belvoir will continue to grow. Yeah, I can see that. And we're already seeing them. If you go into the Woodbridge part of Route 1, they're transforming that section of Richmond Highway Route 1 as well. It'll be interesting to see how commercial properties come back to that space now that they have, they still have several years left of development of that particular road. But it'll be interesting to see what commercial properties, what commercial entities do, and if that transform that area from like a car repair. There's a couple of thrift stores. There's just some interesting commercial development. So will that commercial development go with an increase in class, right? I don't know. Could be. Belvoir slowed because the Route 1 expansion was taking a long time. Yes. Again, this is another example of how a lot of these larger developments take much longer than most people anticipate. Even if you look at the Potomac Shores in Dumfries, I mean, that development has been in the works since the mid 2000s. And look, they're still not finished. And it's 2022. So the VRE still isn't there. Will it be there? Is there excitement around it? Yes, there is. But I don't know. I mean, your guess is as good as mine as towards when they will be finished. Any good recommendations for a contractor who builds retaining walls? I'd have to get back with you on that. If you send us a message, my contact information is in the description. If you send us an email, we could find you a couple contractors in the area for retaining walls. We actually had a client last year who purchased off of the where did they buy? Wilton Woods area, but just on the outskirts of Wilton Woods, and they had a retaining wall built in their property, and they were pretty pleased with that product. I think they did the repair in a timely manner as well, so I can get you that information. All right, Kay Walker says, oh, the missus is in attendance. So the missus is here. What is up? She made some stewed okra over cauliflower rice for dinner. Can't wait to get to that. But we can't get to that until we finish all your questions. Feel free to post your questions down below. I'll stay on as long as you have them. This weather is crazy, right? It is unseasonably warm. I was telling my wife today, it felt like fall or early spring today. What are your thoughts on the Fort Hunt area? I like Fort Hunt. I like the Fort Hunt area. I like the community aspects of it. And also I like Old Town, so Fort Hunt is a little bit closer to the Old Town area. They have some nice size homes in the Fort Hunt area as well, so you can definitely move up in property, right? So let's say, for instance, you like Fort Hunt, you can move into a smaller single family home, and then they have not necessarily estate homes, but they do have 3,000 square foot single family homes in the Fort Hunt area. So I like that, the idea that you can live in one neighborhood and just move around as your income grows, right? And then just retire there, right? I mean, Fort Hunt has a pretty, they have a nice size elderly community as well, and people speak highly of it. So Fort Hunt is pretty nice. Keep those questions coming. What do you all think about the real estate market? Do you think that the prices will go up this spring? Do you think they will go down? Do you think that more sellers will come on the market? We saw almost 50% of the transactions come to a halt once interest rates rose to the max in the springtime. Do you think that we're going to see more transactions? I think that we're going to see same number of we're going to see transactions stay at half, since a lot of sellers are going to be hesitant about moving. But that'll be interesting to see. Do you see big price drops for the Nova area for 2023? I feel like inventory is still low. No, I don't see prices dropping because the inventory is still low, and because, so think about real estate from a perspective of, you don't really have to move. You don't have to move. People move because of recreational reasons, right? You can almost say it's artificial. They have these artificial moves where somebody says, my house is too small, my house is too big, my house is too this, right? But really the only time you have to move is if you go through a divorce, if somebody dies, if you retire, right? So really it's when your income changes, do you have to move? We don't have enough people in this region that are retiring or exiting the workforce. So a lot of the transactions we could hold steady at the half the sales that we're doing right now for quite some time. And people will be chill. They will be fine until they retire. So I don't see prices. I think that prices are going to stay I think we are going to see a bump. We're going to see a spring bump no matter what, because a lot of spring buyers have been saving money for the last 3, 4, 5 years. They knew that they were going to do, they knew they were going to do a transaction in 2023. Whatever happened in 2023, maybe they got married last year. Maybe they got a raise last year. Maybe they turned 30 last year or 40 or 50, whatever. They maybe hit some type of milestone. And so this is the year they're going to do it. And a lot of buyers don't like to shop for properties in the wintertime. Even though the wintertime is the best time to get a deal, right? It's the best time to get favorable terms, the best time to get closing cost assistance. People like to shop during the springtime because springtime for us is like Black Friday. It's like a Black Friday season. Everybody comes out to shop, even though they know that it may not be ideal. All right, I anticipate properties going back up during PCS season. PCS season. So you believe that the PCS season will influence the real estate market? Interesting stuff. All right, upgrading will be one of the reasons. Upgrading will be one of the reasons that people sell. And consider this, another reason why we shouldn't be surprised that transactions dropped. If you go to New York City, people live in those condos, those little apartments, their entire lives, right? You can go online right now and see somebody, a grown adult living in, 900 square feet, 700 square feet, a studio, whole lives in those spaces. So the amount of space we have is adequate in almost every scenario. So I think that people can change their buying habits overnight. They can change what's acceptable to them overnight. And that's what we saw the interest rates do. Now, what will happen to the interest rates is another question. I don't think that we're going to have much of a significant interest rate change in this next year. And if we change parties when next year during the presidential election, that's when I think that things may get interesting, right? But otherwise, I think that this is going to be almost like a sleepy year for us, where we'll get a bump in the springtime, then prices will kind of level out in the summertime, and then we'll have a fall little bump, and then we'll go back to a little late fall winter dip. All right, Crystal says Dream Finders. Okay, ABC, there are townhomes by Dream Finders as well. Or maybe Crystal was talking about Dream Finders is doing condos, but I do know that they have developments in the Loudoun County area as well. All right, Ashawn says, talk to a realtor who said interest rates went down. I was banking on 6% or 7%. What's your take on interest rates? Interest rates change almost every week, really. So it just depends. I think the Fed are talking about doing an adjustment in a week or so. But I think Kevin is about to talk about that right now. When the Fed paused, the rates will come down this spring, loading the pent-up demand. My guess only. Yes. See, interest rate conversations are hard to gauge because I think the Federal Reserve has like 100, I don't know if it's 100 or 1,000 economists working for them, and they still can't predict anything. So this is all speculation. I'm not sure. What I think is nice about the way lending standards have changed is that if you're buying a house right now, even with the adjusted interest rates, you could afford the house based on the way the numbers are working. So the lenders aren't getting you into a situation where they predict that you will be able to afford the house in the future. So I think that that's cool. I think that will make sure that a lot of people don't lose their properties in the future, which is a nice to have. You don't want to see people in foreclosures. All right, Kevin says maybe the interest rates will adjust in the summertime, late summertime. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be interesting to watch the market this coming spring, because this is going to be our first time where interest rates have, like, this is almost like the quote unquote new normal for interest rates, and people have just really adjusted their price ranges. I talked about this on a previous live stream, how in Northern Virginia, a lot of people don't really max out their loan capacity when they're buying a property. So it's common to see somebody purchase a $500,000 property, $800,000 property, $1 million home, and they could have purchased more. They could have purchased more, but they kind of set like a, they set like a budget for themselves and they stick to that budget. So I think what we're seeing now is people who would have purchased maybe a $400,000 property, they could still afford a $600,000 property, and now they're buying $600,000 homes. So I think we'll continue to see that. I mean, I don't. The challenging thing about the Northern Virginia market for a lot of people to wrap their heads around is that not only do individuals here make more money, but people here are just a little bit older, right? So it's even like our first time home buyers, right? A lot of our first time home buyers are buying $500,000 properties. We don't really have enough condo transactions to say that we see a lot of people moving from condo to townhouses. That's why I'm a big advocate for individuals moving to this region, buying a condo in their mid 20s, late 20s, early 30s, right? As they prepare for their townhouse years. All right, Godchild. Hi, is Arlington, Virginia and Maryland expensive than Northern New Jersey? I'm assuming. Is Arlington and Maryland more expensive than New Jersey? Depends. Arlington itself, there's a North Arlington and the South Arlington, right? So it's kind of divided by 50 depending on who you ask. But parts of North Arlington are some of the most expensive real estate in the region. Really, the most expensive real estate in the region is going to be in McLean, but it's close to that North Arlington border. But is it more expensive? I don't know enough about New Jersey and Maryland. Using Maryland to describe the region is you're not doing yourself any justice. Montgomery County, Maryland is as expensive or at a similar rate of expensiveness as the Arlington area, right? So Montgomery County also has some of the top rated schools in the DC metro area. And you see a lot of the Washington, DC crowd who can afford single family homes go into the Montgomery County, Maryland area. So it's going to be a high cost of living area as well. I would say that those markets are similar, but Montgomery County, Maryland is bigger than Arlington. Godchild, thank you for chiming in. This is your first time on. Thank you so much. All right, D-Day says, definitely agree on the winter shopping closed on a townhouse in Centerville this month with seller concession and a $5,000 price drop. Yes. Yeah, I'm telling you, winter season is the season to get yourself a nice little deal. We've been unsuccessful in trying to convince our clients that they would benefit from just buying out their leases in November, December, and going after properties at that time. While you will have, maybe $3,000, $5,000, depending on what your lease is, you will have some type of fee associated to buying out your lease, but you're going to be able to most likely negotiate that, get better terms in the winter time. Because I got to tell you, a lot of people are going to be dipping into their savings account this spring market. They're going to be dipping in to win. Because the more desirable properties, they're going to attract the highest caliber buyers, and high caliber buyers. If you think about, if we had to put like a pyramid of like how we classify buyers, the highest caliber buyer is going to be somebody who has all cash, which is rare. Those are not common. But right under somebody who has all cash is going to be somebody who has great credit and a lot of cash, more cash than most other people. And so this is somebody who could put 20% down and still drop another $100,000 on top to outbid everyone. All right. So those individuals have been saving since they were in their 20s, right? Maybe they're in their mid 30s, 40s. Maybe they got some money from their parents. Maybe they inherited some money. So these are the people who are going to be shopping this coming spring. And I think it's going to be quite interesting, to say the least. All right, Kevin says the Unbiased Mortgage Filter blog by David Stevens provides some good insights on LinkedIn. Okay, excellent. Thank you for that. So y'all check that out, the Unbiased Mortgage Filter blog. So if you like to follow interest rates conversations and what do you think is going to happen in the mortgage industry, do so. Continue with your questions. If you have any questions, let me know. Okay, I have a question for you all. Do you all think that Amazon is going to build its spiral cone now that they have laid off so many people? Do you think that they're going to slow down on their development in Crystal City / National Landing area? They do have the ribbon cutting for their headquarters. It's going to be in March. So that should be a interesting event. Looking forward to seeing the pictures of the interior. That building is beautiful. But do you think that they're going to develop the block that's right across the street from the Pentagon, where they're supposed to have, I think, 3 towers and that cone-shaped development? Do you think they're going to continue? Has anyone been to the Capital One development? That development looks amazing. Capital One, is that amazing to see what you can do in one generation, one lifetime? Nice little local company, nice little local story. All right, ABC says they will continue is my guess. Yeah, I don't know. I'd imagine that, I believe that Amazon was able to secure a government contract recently that was for, I think, I don't know if it was like $1 billion or $2 billion. It was some number that calculators don't like to calculate. And I know that they believe that they'll be able to secure more government contracts, which is one of the reasons why they invested into this region. I don't know if they need to necessarily break ground on the helix. I think that's what it's called, right? The helix, for them to continue. I'm hoping they do, because that's going to be a beautiful structure to look at when it's all completed. There's going to be a nice little common area for not just Amazonians, but also the general public to walk through. So it'll be a beautiful space. Yep. ABC says, now that federal cloud contract is split between all big 4 cloud players, there won't be any blockers, I guess. Yeah. You know, these people like to make more money, though. It'll be interesting to see if they get along well. Also, I think Amazon, because they're making such a heavy investment into the local area, I think they are playing a much longer game than the other cloud players. I think so. I mean, that was just a great strategy to take so much inventory right next to the Pentagon, which is going to obviously make them just so much more influential in that space. Also, I don't think the general public knows just how close Amazon will be to the Pentagon. I mean, it's literally right across the street. The only thing separating it is the interstate. All right, DJ says, speaking of Amazon, they're investing $30 billion in the next 10 years for data centers here. So yesterday's price isn't today's price. Yeah. The data center thing is just fascinating to me. It's fascinating that they've done a interesting job of mixing data centers, especially in the Loudoun area. And we're starting to see some Prince William County data centers pop up, where there are data centers around residential properties. I find that interesting. It's a peculiar thing to see when you're driving through Loudoun, and to have like a nice segment of single family homes, townhomes, and then boom, data center. Or even like have like a cluster of data centers. That's just it's interesting to see, because the buildings aren't beautiful buildings, right? They kind of look like almost like penitentiaries a little bit, right? So just, but with a stucco finish. So they have a smooth finish on the exterior, but they still look like places once you get inside, you're not going to come outside. You're never getting out. So that's interesting. But yeah, but the data centers, I think they say like 50% of all of the internet in the world travels through Loudoun County, which is just insane to think about, right? All right, keep those questions coming. I have enough water for several questions. D-Day, I have a question for you. I know you purchased in Centerville. Why did you purchase in Centerville? What attracted you to the Centerville area? Are you working near that area? Do you have family in the area? Was it just because of the price of the properties? What was it about Centerville that made you call that place home? Okay, just a reminder, every night we jump on this live at 8 p.m. First thing we talk about is the 100 questions every first-time home buyer should ask. Tomorrow we will be covering question number 13. And my goal is to be live for at least 100 days straight. We'll see how that works. I think I can do it. 8 p.m. is usually a good time for me. I've already finished up my client work, so we'll see. Seems like you all are on, so I know that this is there's obviously a market for this, and we'll just keep on answering your questions. So we start the show off with a prepared piece of content where we talk about a question that you should ask. I give my local perspective, my 14 years of experience, outlook on this question. What is it practical here? What is the author trying to say that maybe she didn't say? So yeah. All right, so D-Day moved to Centerville, and he says son is going to school in Aldi, so wanted to be closer to him, and I have lived in Centerville before, so familiar with the area, and it's affordable compared to Loudoun County. Excellent. Well, D-Day, I just want to let you know we have a dads group that operates out of the Centerville area as well. It's called DC Dads Group. You should look it up. I think you'll like what we have to offer. There isn't like a fee or anything like that, and we're not affiliated with any church or nonprofit. The Centerville Dad Groups meet at a coffee shop in Panera Bread in Centerville, and then we also have an Alexandria segment of our group and an Arlington segment as well. So 3 locations right now. And the goal is to launch a Reston location this year. Hopefully we find somebody who wants to spearhead that movement. The whole objective of the dads group is to create a space for dads to connect with one another. And a lot of guys, when they get older, they don't have the best opportunity or the best luck making new friends. So creating a space for guys to make friends has been important. We've been around since February 2019. So this is going to be our 4th year in a couple of days. It's a couple of days. So we have 700 guys in the group across 3 platforms. So we have a meetup group, or we have a meetup page, we have a Facebook group, and also we have something on Nextdoor. My pleasure, D-Day, my pleasure. Interested in the Alexandria Dads group? Perfect. So I spearhead that group. We meet every Friday at Panera Bread in Kingstowne, and then we meet once a month on a Tuesday, the first Tuesday of the month at that same Panera Bread, and then we have like a field trip / outing every month as well. So we like to get together with the guys, and I spearhead that one. So check it out, DC Dads Group. You can search for it. We're pretty much everywhere. Is there any new construction happening in Brambleton and Broadlands area? Yes, Tri-Point Homes has some new construction there. I think Pulte Homes has some new construction. I don't think there are any townhouse communities in Brambleton right now. Broadlands, there's a single family community by, who is that? Is that Pulte? No, that's not Pulte. I think that's Ryan Homes. You can see those. I think you can see the Tri-Point Homes and the single family home in Broadlands on our YouTube channel. So that's what's available in Broadlands right now. Broadlands also has a townhouse community that doesn't have a showroom floor. I mean, a model home yet. So I believe that they are anticipating completion on those projects by the end of this year or beginning of next year. But those are townhomes, or they're either townhomes or 2/2 condos. All right. So post whatever questions you may have. We'll stay on and answer your questions until you run out of questions, or until I run out of water, either one. Also, if you're ready to start your home buying process, there is a link in the description to the Perfect Home Questionnaire. You fill out that form and we'll schedule a time to meet online, and I'll answer any and all of your questions about the real estate process. And you'll be just like this lovely couple here who purchased them a lovely property in the Alexandria area. Okay, you just joined the Dash Group. Perfect. Well, we look forward to seeing you at one of our future events. Like I said, every Friday at 7 a.m. we get together at Panera Bread. One of my goals is with the Dads Group is to create a consistent meeting opportunity, right? So that you could just come in and it's just a part of your regular schedule, right? You come chop it up with the guys and then you go on about your life. And then if you spend enough time in the group, you'll meet a couple guys, then you all can start to have your own little sessions, right? And if you ever need somebody to hold a shelf up while you hammer it, or maybe help you with something heavy, you now have some friends in the area. So how to make friends when you're an adult. I feel like that should be a whole series. Also, I find that it's challenging making friends in the Northern Virginia area because of commute times, and also a lot of people just aren't from this region. And I find that some of the locals, they're kind of cliquish, right? I feel like the locals stay with the locals, and it's hard to break through those locals barrier. So now you're just left with picking new friends from individuals who are not from this area, and then individuals who are not from this area. You have to figure out how to meet those individuals. Even at work, when you're at work, people at work live all over the place, right? So you don't want to have a commute to your friends. So that's what our Dads Group is about. Don't commute to your friends. Great friends down the street. Okay. Okay, Crystal says Virginia is southern in name only, not much southern hospitality. I think that's true for Northern Virginia. I think when you get outside of Northern Virginia and you get into these areas where people don't really relocate or move out of their hometowns, I think then it becomes much more of a southern hospitality play. But you still have the problem of you're going to be new to the area. So will the locals let you in? Excuse me. All right. So since the questions are starting to slow down, this will be the last call for questions. If you have any questions, you can let me know. Also, if you are in the market, please let us know. We would love to have an opportunity to interview for the job of helping you buy a home, sell a home, or invest in real estate. But maybe you've already sold, like NA and also D-Day. We would love to work with any of your friends or relatives or coworkers. Keep us in mind. You can also send them to the channel. We're live every night at 8 p.m. We would love to answer their questions about real estate. Best pizza in Alexandria. Best pizza in Alexandria. I know. La Fiamma. That's easy. La Fiamma. Is it La Fiamma? I think that's La Fiamma. Fiamma Pizza. They're off of, La Fiamma. La Fiamma Pizza, La Fiamma Italian Kitchen. They're off of Franconia Road. Best pizza in Alexandria. Yep, the missus agrees. You should check them out. All right. So since the questions are starting to slow down, we're back every night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Send your friends who are thinking about buying a home, selling a home, or investing in real estate. We'd love to answer their questions. Tomorrow, we will be talking about buyer brokers. What is a buyer broker? What's the purpose of them? How to use them? Thanks. You guys are good people. This has been a great watch. Appreciate the effort and sharing. My pleasure. Look forward to seeing you at one of our Dad's Group sessions in the future too. So we go live on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. You can catch us on any one of those mediums. All right, this is my favorite song on this little track. Thanks again for watching. Torres says, thanks, my pleasure. Thank you for watching. I will see you all on tomorrow. Oh, look, we got some cash, $49.99. Thank you so much. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors. We're here 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we enjoyed having you with us, asking these questions, make this much more interactive. And we enjoy it. All right. I will see you all tomorrow. Peace.